Let me start with this. So as the topic was suggested, a virtual classroom through Google Meet and the classroom platform. So in this, I'll first be going through this presentation. So how do we create a new meeting in the first place? See, actually, one thing is mandatory. We require a Google account. So we will either require a Google account, and if you do not have, probably you might have your account with a Yahoo or any other platform. Yes, you need to have an account with Google in order to set up, or rather create a meeting with this particular platform. So that's the first basic step you require. Then once you do that, you can actually, now I'll show you that also later, Google Meet can be, the invites can be sent through different platforms. In sense, you can send it through your Google Mail, you can send it through Google Calendar, all that I'll show you one by one. So if you can send a link or a meeting code, like what all of you received was actually the link which I sent to you, and based on that, you can join the meeting. So the only problem here is there are two versions. One is a free version and one is actually the institute supported version. So if your institute supports G Suite, then you will be able to invite even people from other IDs, because in this also I saw there were a lot of people with a non-Google account. So, but I was able to invite them because we have an institutional account. So if it's a personal account, you'll be able to invite people only with the Google kind of a mail ID, or else that might not be possible. So then you invite people, and once you invite, this will be the option. Either you can join the meeting with that particular code which is given to you. So tap on the meeting link. The meeting link will automatically be there. Enter the meeting code from which the host has sent, and then you can join the meeting. You can also, there is an option of a dial-up number which would be there. Through that also you can join the meeting in case if you are not able to probably connect, or you have some connectivity issues. The dial-up number is another option. Now, if you're using, you can invite up to 100 participants if you're using the free version. That is the only limitation. But with the other, I'm talking about the institutional account, up to 250 people we can invite. So that's the only limitation between the free and the paid or what we call institutional supported accounts. So this is the major difference in terms of when you talk about the meetings. Here, this, in fact, I'll turn it on after some time. There is what we call live captioning. So in that, it is an icon on your screen which will be like CC. CC is nothing but closed captioning. That is the expanded version of that. So the advantage of this closed captioning is it will run at the bottom of your screen like a subtitle. It will run like a subtitle. So you have two options in this. Either there are three dots which is on the screen, you can see on your screen. If you press that, you will have an enable CC, or directly on the screen itself, you will have an option of CC. The moment you click that, it will be easy, because suppose people are not able to follow or anything, they can clearly read those kind of subtitles which work, because this goes with the voice recognition software enabled by Google. But the only problem is in terms of it goes according to the pronunciation. So sometimes we say something and it might take us something, especially when we have certain Indian names and those kind of things. There might be some, because their software is enabled depending on the actual pronunciation of the words in English. So anyway, we can't help it, because that's how the software works. So by and large, in our experience, we've seen it's almost close to 90% accuracy is there. In terms of when we speak normally, it does recognize pretty well. This one more major advantage, I'm sure many of you are using your phones. So it can work on any device. You can join a meeting from your desktop, your laptop, Android-based phone, iPhone, iPad, anything you can join. There is no restriction in terms of, in fact, when you're using an Android phone, you just need to download the Google Meet app, and you will be getting all the, you can straight away join from your mobile. It shouldn't be a problem. And here, one more advantage is you can actually, once you click your meeting code, you can adjust your camera and see how you actually look probably how you will be presenting yourself to others, because you will be visible in terms of, and you will also get to know as to how many people have already joined. Like for example, now before I logged in, the moment I went on to the main screen, I could see already about some 25 plus people had joined. So it was already there that so many people have joined. So like that, you will have an idea. Suppose you are the first, automatically even that will come. You are the first to join this meeting. Even that would be visible in terms of the preview screen. And on that preview screen, you can click join. This also I'll show you. You have different layouts in Google Meet. So what happens is, generally by default, it will have the normal view, which all of you are currently seeing. Suppose I want to change it to a grid view like that, different, where I want to see more number of people on the screen, especially in a class situation. Suppose you want to see all the students, even there up to 16 people you can comfortably see. If you want to see more number of people, I'll tell you also that option, how that can be done. So to change the layout, there are 3 dots which is there on your screen. You press that, you can see all the options which are available. One option which will not be available for others is, like for example, now I'm recording this meeting. So the record button will be available only to the host. So if any of you host the meeting, you can record it. Like for example, let's say you are conducting a class. So at that point of time, you want to record the entire class, because probably some students might have some technical glitches, so they might not be able to join the class. So that benefit can be given to them later, so that they'll be able to at least see the videos of what they missed. That is one advantage, but this recording option will come only for the person who's hosting the meeting. So on your screens, if you go to the 3 dots, you will not find the record button. Screen sharing. Now, currently what I'm doing here is screen sharing. I'm actually sharing my screen. So you can present your entire screen on an application window, or a particular application I want to, that I can. If you want to share a browser, like for example, let's say I want to show a YouTube video, or I want like that, directly I can share the browser on this, so that they'll be able, all the other participants will be able to see. So these are the options in terms of screen sharing. Messaging. I think a majority of you are already aware about it, because what happens is, sometimes during the conversation or during the sessions, there might be questions, and you could probably tell your students, like, let's not be disturbed during the session. If anything is there, you can post a message on the chat box. So once you go to the chat icon, there it will automatically enable you can start typing your messages, so that people can actually address it. That's one option we have. This is what I told you, integration with Google and Microsoft Office apps. In fact, the picture here is slightly smaller, so that's the reason I'm not able to really, I hope all of you can see it. So here you can see you can start or join meetings directly from Gmail or Calendar. And if you are having a Microsoft Outlook also, from the Outlook directly you can schedule these meetings. If you look at this particular screenshot, this is actually, I've taken one from my personal mail purposely. You can see on the left-hand side below Compose, Inbox, etc., you have the Meet option there. Either start a meeting or join a meeting. So directly from your mail, you can start the meeting, or you can even join an existing meeting. So that is one advantage you have. So automatically what will happen, whatever is linked to your email, if the Meet, let's say you want to come as a participant, if it is linked to your email, from your email directly you can ask join a meeting, and you will go to that particular meeting page. So that's how the entire thing is interlinked. So either from Gmail, or from your calendar, or from Microsoft Outlook. These are the options in where you can either start or join a meeting. Then the next option is calendar. This is again the screenshot of what I did. This is from my official account. So you can see this particular, when you go to your Google account, on your right hand side you will find that 9 dots would be there. Now, dots will be there where all the options will, you can go to YouTube, everything. In that, you will have also calendar. In this calendar, if you go, and there is a time schedule which will be given from 9 a.m. till the end of the day. So there, if you just go click on the time, this particular second box will open, which I'm showing you on the right hand side, that add title, which is there. So there, what happens is you can go, you can add the title, you can give your date, time, then you can add guests. That is when you will be adding email IDs. And in the add conferencing is where we will do it. All this I'll show it to you live. So through calendar, when you schedule it, you can see the blue box here. On that, at 11 o'clock, actually, we scheduled this particular session. So that will automatically appear on your calendar. And the moment you click on that, automatically it will take you to the meeting. So this is actually very, very convenient if you are scheduling through calendar. The reason being, suppose, let us say I want to schedule about 4 or 5 meetings, not necessarily in a day. Let's say I want to schedule about 5 meetings for this entire week. That 5 meetings, I can do it using Google Calendar easily. Just keep on changing the dates, fix the timing, and invite them. So this will be very, very easy. And for what happens is, again, for some of these options, when we are having more than 250, as I told you, participants, it needs to be supported by your institute. Institute should have the G Suite account, or else it will not be possible. Otherwise, up to 100 participants, you can comfortably schedule. This is what I told you. In fact, I should have shown this earlier. Doesn't make a difference. You can see that 9 dots which are there on top. Those 9 dots are nothing but where you can choose all these options. So you will find everything. Now I'm just showing you the option for classroom. So even your calendar will be visible in this particular panel, where you have all the Google applications which you can possibly use. So when you go through this application, you can find there is one there as the classroom icon. Next to Class 365, you can see a classroom icon. So this is what we'll be using for a classroom. And this is very important for teachers especially. The reason being, all your materials, etc., you can post it on Google Classroom. Let us go to the first one. This is how the layout will look like. So I have about 4 classes. The other is some extra training programs what we had. So this is how the layout will look like. And by default, it will come with some picture. You can always change the picture also. This is the moment you open your classroom, if you already had some classes registered, this is how it will look like. Then the next one, in terms of, this is one of my classes. So for example, you can find this here. On top, you can see share something with your class, which means you can share material, you can share your notes. If you want, this is for something, if you want to share with your class, you can use this as a very good option. And when students want to join, again, how will they join your class? This is important. You can see the moment you create a class, I also show you how to create a class. The moment you create a class, you have to give the name, title, all that. And some of the details are not mandatory, like it will ask you classroom number, all that. That is not required as of now because it's online what we are doing. So the moment you create, on top, can you see a class code? It's pretty small here. The class code is there, where you can straight away, this class code should be given to the students. So the moment the students go into their Google account, then they will be able to join your class. This is, and you can also create a Meet link directly through the classroom session. This is one more option. That is why I didn't put it there. But here you can create a Google link, a Meet link, even from your classroom. Everything is integrated. That is one advantage in this platform. Now, this is one more thing where I have shared some of the PDF files which they had to do a particular assignment. So you can see this is how I've given it to them. So the moment they see this, they will be able to open these files and they can view these files. The next one, this is pretty interesting. This is important for us as teachers. So on the top, if you go, I'll just go to the previous slide and come back. You can see on top, you have stream, classwork, people, and grades. What are these 4 options? The classwork option is which is most important to us. So you can create a particular work. It could be an assignment, it could be a quiz, it could be a question, a material, or if you are already you have some post which are earlier you made it and you want to reuse the same thing, you can. So any of these options you can give, and that would go as a classroom. And this classwork is very, very important because this is where we will be focusing mainly. Now you see the next one. The moment you go to the submissions, you'll find the moment you click after you create in this particular thing, you will come to know how many people have submitted. Individually, I'll know the moment I put view assignment. The first click is the moment you put view assignment, you will come to know for your assignment how many people have actually in this particular class. 39 have already turned in and 2 have still not turned in. So this is how I will come to know. And individually, if I click on that 39, you'll be getting a hand kind of a symbol. When you click on it, I'll come to know how many people have submitted. So all their work can be, and what happens is you can grade them. You can see on the left-hand side, there are grades. I made it for 20 points. So individually, I can click on each of these assignments and I can go through it. And after that, I can score it. After scoring, there's one more option here on the left. If you see, there is something called return. This return is, you can return that assignment to the student. He will be getting the grades. And if you want to give any comments on it, you can give a comment. So the moment you open the assignment, there'll be a comment box also where you can give probably not satisfactory or more detail required, whatever it is. You can give those details on your comments and then it will go to the student. And that comment also, there are two options in that comment. One is comment privately and comment for all, which means when you put comment privately, it will go only to that particular student. If you put comment all the students can view it. So let's take, for example, if you say a particular student has done a very good job and that particular work, what he's done needs to be shown to everyone, or everyone should know what he's done. Then you can put comment for all, wherein excellent assignment, all points covered. Just giving you an example. If you want to put that, you can put so that everyone can view, or if you feel that there is more improvement required, you need not put it in the common one, just comment privately so that only that particular student will receive the comment. And once you finish all your scoring, here one more advantage is, you can see on top, there is a drop down, copy all grades to Google Sheets or download all grades as CSV. CSVs or a Google Sheet, both are like your Excel file. CSV is also an Excel file, but nothing but the full form is a comma separated values. So it would take as a Google Sheet. So you need not again note down all these marks manually. So the moment you go here, once you've graded everything, then you just put download all grades as CSV. You will be getting it as a CSV file. It is nothing but like an Excel file. Only thing is the CSV file is required when we schedule certain meetings. I'll tell you also why that is required. For that, there is a small Excel formula. So I would like you to note it down when we do that, especially when you're inviting, because one question many people ask is for a Google meeting. Now for this example, this particular meeting, we had invited about 100 plus people. Now 100 plus people, did I actually manually type all that addresses? That is going to be a cumbersome process. That will not happen. All we require is a particular small formula in Excel, which will help us to automatically do this function. Because unless if it is a CSV file, in other things, in other terms, a comma separated value file on Excel, only then it will be easy for us to paste it. I'll show you that function also. So this is basically in terms of the overall presentation, what I had in mind. Now, let's see individually how this actually works. Let me stop sharing the screen. Yeah. Now, since up to here, is it clear or you have any questions? If it's there, you can please unmute your mic and you're free to ask. before we go on to the live sessions. Ma'am, Diana ma'am, anyone has got any questions? They can address, ma'am.
Participants, if you have any doubts, you can
Yeah.
unmute your audio and please ask.
Yes, ma'am. That a lot of people have asked the PPT. 100% I will share it. I'll send it to Dana ma'am so that she can share it with all of you. That shouldn't be a problem. Absolutely no hassles. Okay, ma'am. So I'll go on to that live screen, which people can view. I'm also just turning on the captions. So I think now, if you observe, some of you can see the subtitles kind of thing, which is below the screen. One more thing, when you share, actually, you have an option of, I'll just share that screen. 1 moment. Yeah, can you see this particular screen now, all of you? I hope you can see this particular screen. Yeah, thank you. So in this screen, if you see, this is how my screen will look like, and when you present, the same thing would be applicable from your side. So if you actually see on the bottom, you have this turn off captions, and earlier it was turn on captions. This is what I put so that you will be getting this subtitle kind of thing, which is below your screen. And currently, when I sit, you are presenting, because I'm already presenting, this option is there, or the icon there would be present now. And then you can present your screen. So whichever screen you open, that screen will be visible to the participants. And next you have these three dots. These three dots, which is on the extreme right, when you press that, these are the options. So these options, you can see, the first one is recording. So now currently, since the session is being recorded, you are having that. Otherwise, it will show as start recording. Then this change layout below. This is the second one, which I told you. By default, actually, it will come with around 16. So you can see 16 people in the same at the same time. But now, assuming I have a class of, let's say, around there are 40 students, how do I see 40 plus students? That you cannot see directly on this, but then you need to have some what we call the add-ons. In other terms, these are certain things which you need to download, but most of that is actually free. Once you go to Google kind of shop, you can automatically get these. So there is a particular icon called grid. So when the moment you go to grid, then if you download that, you will be able to see more number of people. But the only problem is all will be small icons. You can just see them in a very small kind of, because when you have 16 people on a screen, when you have 50 people on a screen, the number of people whom automatically the size of that will get reduced. But all these are add-ons which you need to actually download. In fact, if you can see on top, there is a small kind of Apple kind of an icon. This Apple icon is nothing but we've enabled this because it's for attendance. It is to monitor the attendance. You want to monitor the attendance of your class. This particular, you will have to download this add-on. So all these add-ons are where you can go to just Google, and there you can just give attendance option in Google Meet. You will be getting a list of apps. So those apps you can download. Any one app is enough. This Apple icon is one app. There is another app with a kind of a people kind of an icon. Any of those you can download, and or it will be automatically integrated with your Chrome browser. And Chrome browser is comfortable for your entire Google Meet because Chrome is also a part of the Google thing. So it's an advantage if you're having a Chrome browser compared to a Mozilla. Of course, you can work on Mozilla as well. There is no restriction, but Chrome is better because the number of options are more. And you can add, so many add-ons are there. As I told you, these for so many purposes. Like there's one more which I forgot. The name is, it is exclusively for students. But only thing is all of them have to download that. It's not, only if one of us do it, it will not suffice. I don't know whether I noted it down. I'll just check. I think, yes, it's called, there's one more option called Nod, N-O-D. So this Nod is, for example, if you have a class of 40, 50, you want them, if any question is there, they can kind of raise their hand or something. That option is there in that Nod. So again, that has to be downloaded. So once you download it and you put add to Chrome, everything will get added on your browser. You can see those icons like what I'm showing you now. This Apple icon is for the attendance. Likewise, you can keep for the layout. Once you download the grid, you can see that like a grid kind of. So in that grid, you can see more number of people. Nod you can, but Nod only thing is all the students have to have that. Only then they'll be able to raise their hands. So if you have a class of 40, all the 40 should download that Nod kind of an add-on to their browser. Only then it would work. Then of course the other things are there, change layout. Then if you want to show it as full screen, this entire screen which I'm presenting, if I want to show only this full screen, I can, so that the other icons, the top I've opened about 2 options that might not be visible. Then use a phone for audio. If you're having a problem, you can use the phone for an audio. And apart from that, there are different settings which you can use, like for example, your microphone and all that. Those options are always there. So leave all that by default, your audio and video, don't change that. So that is one thing. So these are the basic icons which we will be using in terms of the Meet. Now, let me go to the scheduling part of it, which would give you an idea. Ma'am, can you see my mail, ma'am? Are you able to view my mail? Hello? You can view the mail page, is it?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's
Okay.
visible.
So here, ma'am, now you can see on
Yes, sir,
this
it's
particular
visible.
screen, I have these 9 dots, which is what I told you. First, we'll start with scheduling a meeting. So when I click these 9 dots, I'll have all these options which is coming. So you have your account, Gmail, Drive, Slides, Meet, Chat, everything which is there. Classroom. This is where I took the screenshot from. So now let us first start with the calendar. So I go on to Google Calendar. Is this visible to all of you? The calendar? Ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's
Okay.
visible, sir.
So, yeah, now how do I schedule a meeting for the class? You take this, now this one which is already there is the one which we are currently are in, the digital replica. Now let us say for a different date. Let me take for a different date. Let's take, for example, tomorrow, 20th. I choose the date 20th and I want to have a meeting at 11 a.m. So I just click there. The moment I click there, you have these particular options. If you want the layout to look bigger, no problem. You just on your save and then you have more options. You can click that. I normally prefer to use this because it is more comfortable for me. So the moment I put this more options, I'll have this. So first you add your title, let's say test. Then I'm having June 20th. This is the one, 11 a.m. to 11:30. This is flexible. So now let us say I want to have the class at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. is the class. So that will be there. Now, this one option is, suppose you want to repeat the same class every day. Suppose you say you're having your 9 to 9:30 session, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like that. You can. Or you can actually every weekday, Monday to Friday, like that. Or you can customize it accordingly when you want. So this can be done. You do not have to schedule it every day. So if it's daily, automatically, but it should be the same timing. So every day by the same time, they can join that class. That is one advantage. So then the next one is, once you fix your title, date, timing, then leave alone time zone. By default, it will be only our Indian time zone. This button, you'll have to find it. To add video conferencing. So add video conferencing, it's a drop down. So you will have Google Meet. You see, by default for us, it comes up to 250 participants. We also have a WebEx platform which we are using for our teaching. That is why for me, all the three will be visible. But or else for the other accounts, only this Google Meet will be visible. So Google Meet, if you see, up to 250 participants is there. So with being an institutional account for me, automatically with 250 participants, it is there. Then add location, you need not put it. This is not necessary. Then this is one option, notification 10 minutes, which means 10 minutes before the start of the meeting, a notification will go to the participant. You can add notifications in the sense, now I don't require only timing. I also want an email to be sent. So you go to the drop down, there's an email. And that email, let us say I want the email to be sent about 15 or 20 minutes before. So I can set that. Likewise, you want one more email 2 days before, or let us say about 2 hours before, 3 hours before, you can keep adding notifications. So like that, you can add notifications. So once you finish this is the most important. Now, below that, I already have my colleagues, which are already part of the institute. So that is why it is coming down. Or else what happens is you need to add the people in this add guests. Now, let me just add one mail ID here. Diana ma'am, can you just give me your mail ID, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Diana Downie, DIANA.
DIANA. It is there.
DOW.
The Diana, then ma'am?
Downie. DOWMY.
DOW. It's already there. See, since I sent you a mail, it is there. dianadowney@gmail.com. It's already there in the address, like kind of default there, because I've already sent a mail to madam. So in this case, I'll just click that so that you can see the name has come below. So this name will come below. And likewise, as you keep adding participants, it will keep on adding. Then once you finish this, you can go save. The moment you save, would you like to send invitation mails to Google Calendar guests? It will say send. Then the following guests are outside your organization. Because this is an institutional account, it will show that your following guests from outside your organization. Are you sure you would like to invite them? So then you just put invite. Ma'am, you'll be getting the invitation, but just ignore it. I'll delete it later. So this is how you schedule in terms of using your Google Calendar. And this is very useful, I'll tell you. The reason being, you can actually invite a lot of people using this. Now, the first major question here is, now, okay, in this case, I've just invited one person. Since I've invited one person, it's easy. Suppose I'll have to invite about some 40, 50 people. How do I do that? Because the class strength is not one. Class strength would be minimum, let's say 30, 35, 40 or more. So how do I do that when I'm having the entire class? So for that, I'll just show you a particular file. Ma'am, can you see the Excel file, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in this file, you see there are about 71 people in this class. So now if I want to invite all the 71, it is not actually humanly possible for me to keep typing all the 71 addresses and keeping cut and paste for the entire class. Is good. That itself will consume every probably 1 to 2 hours of my time. So that there is a formula of doing this, because as I told you, in Google Meet, it accepts actually comma separated files. So when we talk about comma separated files, how you can please note down this particular formula, it will be easy for you. So we put first equal to, then you select the first cell which contains the roll number, the email ID. First, the equal to symbol, select that particular cell which has got the first email ID, then followed by and symbol. After and, you put an open quotes, comma, close quotes. Did you get it? I'll just repeat it. Equal to, select that first cell which has got the first email ID, then and symbol, open quotes, comma, close quotes. Once you do this, just put enter. It will automatically come with a comma at the end of the email ID. You can see that. Then you don't have to do this for everything. From here, like what you drag down for your numbers 1, 2, 3, just drag the file down. You see the entire file will come with commas at the end. Then you can just copy the entire thing. Now I'll go back to my calendar. Are you able to see the calendar, ma'am? Is the calendar visible? Or is it still the Excel file? Hello?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Calendar is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'll go back to the same meeting, because the option is you can actually you can edit these meetings. Edit is that option on top. You have that pencil kind of a symbol. You can edit that. It will go back to the same whatever it is, and you can just Control V. Now automatically that entire set of emails here have got pasted in one shot. I'm not putting the save here, or else all these students will be getting the invitation. So that is the reason. You can see it is 71 people I've invited in one shot. Every email has got pasted. You can see here. This is all the our class IDs. So that is the reason it's all Gmail, like the entire class, the IDs will get pasted in the Google. This is an advantage when you actually schedule using your particular Google Calendar. So you need not actually wait, unless if I put save, then you'll be able to view all the this ones. In fact, I'll not send it. I'll just show you after saving. But if I save, yeah, because I've already sent it, I've only edited it, there is a chance it will go to the entire student. So I'm not doing that. So this is how you actually do it for multiple students. Kindly note down that formula, and you can see here on the above also you'll be getting who's the organizer and who's the participant, like that. So you can get, and here you can see some options which are there below. Let me move this here. You can see these three options. Now, guest permissions. What are these guest permissions? Which means you are giving some permission to the guests who are there. Like one is modify event, invite others, and see guest list. Suppose if you disable this, what will happen is you might not be able to invite others to your meeting. Now, generally, when we do this for the students. The reason being, we don't want any unauthorized person to come into your class. So that being only your people whom you invite only, they should be able to come. So they will not be able to invite others directly from this. So you can disable this and see guest list, nothing wrong. They can see the number of people who are there. So that will not make a difference. So that is one thing in terms of these options which are there as far as the Meet is concerned. Now this is how you schedule a meeting in using your calendar. So this is how you can, any doubts in this as far as the, before I move to the classroom part of it, any doubts in the Google, how to schedule using the calendar? Please feel free to ask because this is important. So now see, discard unsaved changes because I've added email IDs, it is asking me. I'm just putting discard so that the new ones will not be added. So now directly I can start the meeting by clicking on this tomorrow because I've given that as 9 a.m. I can directly click here and start the meeting, start the meeting. Likewise, even if it is integrated, now Diana ma'am also can see it on her calendar. She can also join using this directly. That is an advantage. You need to integrate your calendar with your mail ID. So you see here, by default, this is my mail ID, which is my official mail ID. So mine is integrated to this, I'll be getting. So any doubts in this, participants, you can feel free to ask because before I move on to the next one, if any doubts are there, I'll clarify this. As of now, I'll stop sharing and then we'll address the queries. Any questions, ma'am, from the people? Please feel free to ask. You need not actually, I'm not looking at the chat box. So if anything is there, you
Hello,
can.
sir. Good morning.
Yes, madam.
Hello. Sir, this is Dr. Shrija from Velala College for Women, A Road. Sir, it's highly informative. Sir, one request, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir,
Yes,
can you please send the recording to our mail ID so that we can practice it?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
It will
See,
be
because it's all
practice.
Certainly, ma'am. This recording, I will send it. It'll actually, it takes some time to generate. It'll because it goes
Thank you,
to the
sir.
Google
It's
Drive
highly
directly.
useful.
I'll send it, ma'am.
Okay,
So,
okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, because it will be very useful when we practice it. While watching the recording itself, if we can practice it in the sense, it will be highly useful to us.
Certainly, ma'am. Certainly. So
Thank
the
you so much,
next,
sir.
welcome, ma'am. Welcome. So I'll now move on to the classroom part of it. So that is again pretty interesting. So let me first share the screen. So here you can, as I told you, now I think you can see my screen. You can see present now is there. Earlier it was presenting. Now you can see present now. So I click that present now and my entire screen. So whatever is there on my screen is what even you will be able to see. So I'm now going to present my entire screen. Then you will be getting this particular box. You have to click that. See, directly the share will not be enabled. You click that. The moment you click that, the share option will be there. Just share. Now, this is where it is. This is the same. You will be able to see whatever is on my screen now is what you are actually seeing. Now, same. Let's go to the same 9 icons button. Go below. Search for classroom. Yes, I've got my classroom. But for me, by default, it will open because we've already had so many classes there. We do take the class, you can see this layout is what I showed you on the particular. Now, if I want to create a class, let's start with that. So first, I go to this plus button on top. You have two options. Join class and create class. So if you also want to join any other teacher's class, you can join, or else you can directly create. Students will be using join class. So now I go to create class. So the moment I put create class, I get these options. let us say class name. I'm just putting it as because it's a test file. Test. If you have any section, let's give it section. Subject, let's say management. And room is not mandatory, it is only optional. So these are the details I'll be giving, and then I create the class. This takes a few seconds for it to create the class. Yeah, finally. So this is how you will be getting it by default. This is how, and you can see on top, you have a class code, Wi-Fi QKSI. This is a default generated kind of a class code by the Google platform. So you cannot change that particular code. That code would be whatever there, the default code, you need to give it to your students. What you can change in this is here. For example, you can select, there are certain themes. If you want to make your particular band look really colorful, you can use, there are certain themes which is by default, all these themes are there. You can use these default themes which you feel is more suitable for your subject. If I don't want any of these themes, you can actually upload a photo. But that photo should be of certain resolution that the system will specify. Suppose I am taking, let's say, a class on management. I want a management theme. Then you can select, you can download that, keep it on your computer. Then you can just go upload the photo. So it'll ask you from where it needs to be uploaded. You can just upload that and automatically that will be visible here. This is just to make it more interesting, that's all. Otherwise, it really doesn't make a difference. Even if you keep it by the default theme, it is not a big, not a big issue. So then, this is how you create a class. Now, this is the option which I showed you, share something with your class. Suppose, let's say I want to share a particular file. Now, what do? Let's say, for example, an article review. Article review is what I'm giving. So where have I kept it in my system? Just go to the add icon. Whether you have it on your Google Drive, you have it as a link, you have it as a file, or you want to add a YouTube video. Any of these you can select. Now let us say I want to select a file from where, from the device, let's say a particular something. I'm just putting it as this file I've chosen. So once I choose, it will come here. If you want to add more files, you can add more files, or straight away put upload. It will upload the file. And after you upload it, here you can see there are two options. One is post. If you post it, it will go immediately to the Google Classroom platform and students can view it. Suppose you don't want them to see it immediately, which means you want them to look at it after 2 days because your class discussion is for the following week. There is an option here, you can schedule it. Once you put schedule here, it will ask you when to schedule. Like, I want this to be visible to them only on the end of this month, 30th. And what time you can give the time. So it is, example, 9 a.m. Then the moment you hit schedule, it will show as scheduling. But here, if you see, the interesting thing is, it will not be visible to you also as of now because it is scheduled. Here, you will not actually be able to see that because it is for a further date. But as a teacher, you will be able to see the upcoming and all that. So no, if you put the view all, you will be able to see. Now, as of now, I'm not given any for review, so we are not able to see. It's only when I have a review where I'll be able to see this particular portion. Now, I've already shared that. I've actually posted it for a later date. The next part in this is classwork. Anyway, let me explain these 4 icons. The next classwork is, this is where you can create your assignments for your class. So the moment I put create here, I'll be getting these options, either an assignment, quiz, question, material reuse. So you can give anything in this. So let us, most easy to use, I'll give you is your quiz. So the moment you give a quiz assignment, by default, it will create it in Google Forms. So you can give a title for your quiz, then you can give the instructions, whatever you want to give. Then you can give the points. If you say that it is not for 100 points, it is only for, let us say, about my quiz is only for about 20 points, you can change it. If you want to have it ungraded also, you can have it ungraded, so that that marks division will go. If you want to give any due date, you can give a due date, your topic, etc. Rubric, I'll come back to it because now explaining that will take a lot of time. So as of now, and especially this is important, originality reports, which means suppose this will not be suitable for quiz, but if you're giving an assignment and you want to check whether it is copied in there, whether it is plagiarized. So that point of time when you give originality reports, by default, it will give you an originality report. But what happens is this originality report will give you an indicative kind of a picture. It will not be as perfect as what we use in Urkund or in Turnitin. Urkund and Turnitin are exclusive kind of plagiarism softwares. So there you will be getting a better picture. But in this, you might not get that amount of precision, but at least an approximate idea we'll have as a teacher as whether they have completely done it originally or they have copied it completely. So that idea you'll be getting to know the percentage. Here only the percentage will be visible. Suppose if it's plagiarized to 20% or 30%, that percentage will be visible. But if you go to Urkund or to Turnitin especially, you will come to know even from where it has been taken, the source, everything will be visible. So that is the only difference between this and that. So that is better in terms of, but this as an indicator, it is good for us. So once you open your blank quiz, you can see this. So let's say, for example, I'm giving management. If you want to give a form description, you can, like, for example, answer all questions. All answer, or you can give this even in the instruction which is there earlier, answer all questions. So then you go, what is management, or just giving you an example. So you will have, or let's say, okay. So here again, you have a choice. Like this is just I've given you 4 choices here. Here you can either have a multiple choice, a checkbox, drop down. Then if it's a short answer, paragraph, anything you can give it here. And this linear scale is etc. when it is useful when you're doing for example, let us take a survey, like when we do research, you want to have your questionnaire sent through this Google Forms. You can go to Google Forms and linear scale will be like a Likert scale. Strongly disagree to strongly agree, like that, automatically that will come by default. But this I'm just showing it if you want to conduct a quiz for the students. So in the quiz itself, you can have either multiple choice or a checkbox or a drop down or a paragraph, a short answer, anything you can have. So I'll just show you 1 or 2 in this. So functions of management, then how do I grade this? This is one thing you need to see, which is very, very important. You see below, there is this answer key. So you click on that answer key, but in this, I mean, since all these functions are there, please don't, I'm just taking one as an answer. Even though planning, organizing, controlling, everything is a part of management, I'm just for our learning purpose. Let's say this is the only correct answer. This is the only correct answer I'm giving. Then on top, you have the points, increase it to 1 point. If you want to give 1, 2, that is up to you. Then give done. After you give done, just check this. It is not mandatory. So this becomes a compulsory question. So which means all students have to answer this. There's no other option. So this would be then, now this is the correct answer. Then you go to add the next question. So the moment I put add, you see in the previous question that option, what you ticked will go off. Only when the student answers this, he will come to know. Suppose he's clicking organizing, the mark will be 0 because we have put the correct answer as planning. So this is how you score. At the moment you score it for all your questions, automatically the scores will get imported to your you can see it in that column. When the students answer like what I showed you in that assignment, same thing on the left hand side, you'll find the name and the score, and by default it will calculate the score. You don't have to correct it manually. Only you will take some time in preparing this particular quiz. So once you prepare the quiz, your job is done. Now let's take one more. In this, let me choose a short answer. Automatically this will change. Like you can give and you can actually here, same way you can give your answer key. Is just okay. So you type that particular answer. Then again, you can give the points 1, 2, whatever you wish, and just tick this, which means if they give exactly that answer, I mean, this is an indication I'm giving, but sometimes you will have a one word, like for example, let's say planning is a function of management. Is it right or not? So like that you can give it. So, or any other. So if you tick this particular thing, only whatever you have given, that will be taken as the correct answer. And any other thing, if they miss out in that, they will not be getting it as the right answer. So here, this is the answer I have given. The moment I put done, that answer will not be visible. Here, you can see as of now, it looks for you. I mean, you might see it is still visible. What will happen? Just put the next question. The moment you put the next question, automatically that answer will go off. Only the student can answer that particular question now. So likewise, you can set up this particular quiz. You can have how many ever questions you want to for that. And automatically on top, each as and when you add points, it will keep reflecting. So this also helps us if on any confusion. Suppose I've typed 10 questions. I'm not sure whether I've typed, but then when I check here, I know the number of points. One more thing in this is there. I have typed about some 10 questions, but I'm seeing the number of points are only 8. Which means 2 questions you have forgot to add the marks there. So all that you can get the indication from here. So then after the answering, you can also see the responses. As of now, no responses are there. Otherwise, you can see the responses. So this is how you set up a quiz in your, and here, only thing is, let us say I've typed about 5 questions. I'm feeling bored. I don't want to type the balance. I'll be doing it tomorrow. Don't worry. Whatever you type will not go waste. Just close it. Because what the advantage here is, whatever you type, it will automatically go to the Google Drive. It is saved in the cloud, so there will be no effect. Now, if you take, if I want to open it, I can still open it. It will be there. I can actually see the quiz, whichever I've typed, it will not go, it will still be there. So then actually now advantage, if I want to add questions, I can. Because you are the creator, you can add questions and you can continue with it. So I just close it. By default, whatever you typed will always be there. It will never go out of your system till you actually delete it. Now actually I don't want this, I can delete it. God, I don't want that quiz. You can have something else. So that's how. So my assignment itself, I have deleted. This is how you create assignments in terms of your Google Classroom. The third one is people. This is nothing but this, you will get a list of people who have enrolled for your class. See here, it will give you this code also. Invite students or give them the class code, this particular class code. So the moment you give them this class code, they will be able to join your class. So it is better you go to the people from here, you take this particular code. this code is what will teach. So who are the teachers in this currently here? In fact, you can also add a teacher. Now I'm the only teacher in this. Now let us say you have another colleague who teaches along with you the same subject. You can actually add the teacher's name and invite them so that they also will be a part of your class. So which means even they can, let us say your timing would be, you're handling one class and the other teacher is handling some other class, but same subject. They can use the same material. They need not. So you can add teachers, and students actually, you can either add them or they will automatically, you can add like this. This manually you can add the students, but this is a headache for us. It is simple. You give them the code. You give them the code so that they will automatically join, and in your list, you will come to know how many people have joined. Like I'll show you in this particular my class. See, in this is my particular class which I'm currently conducting. So when I go to people, I'll come to know how many students have actually joined. Here I'm the only teacher, and these are all my list of students who are there. So the list of students, I've just given them the code and they have joined using the code. That is the advantage. So whatever is there, I can actually, anything I need to post on it, I have. In fact, we have posted a lot of assignments on that. So this is how you actually create a class, post it, give grades, everything. So here, as I told you, the rubric part of it will take some time, because that, as of now, what happens, it will be too much in one session, because in terms of the rubrics creation, that is slightly, it takes some time, because that will be suitable. Suppose you're giving assignments, but if you're giving only quizzes and all, because what I showed you, the other one which I've created, that which one I have not created a rubric for that. I'll open that particular class. So this class itself, there are see, this one is I've given a particular assignment. That is why when you go to grades, you're able to see this. But now let me go to this classwork. I've given an article review. 47 people have turned in, 24 have still not turned in. So either you can view the assignment or just go click here. When you click on that number, I'll be getting to see all these. So here I have not created a particular rubric. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to open it and then go give them the marks. So this is like, yeah, so this particular student has submitted this particular work. So I need to, I'll go through this, and based on this, what I'll do is I'll actually give them the marks. So I can just close this after I read it, and in this I can enter the marks. Like let us say I'm giving only 6 out of 10, like that. And the moment I put return, it will go to that particular student. As of now, I have not graded it, so that is the reason I'm not putting anything. So then if I put return, this marks will go to that particular student. That is one advantage of this. So then once I finish this, automatically the others will open. So you can see for the entire class like that, I keep on grading it, and I can put the marks on this. So once I enter all the marks, once I go to the grades option, all those grades will be visible for me. In the previous screen, what I showed you, when I go to grades for this particular class, you can see all these students, whatever grades they've got, it's there. This is how, in terms of the creating any sessions in your classroom, giving them work, etc., will be there in terms of your, and you can, as I told you, you could also, a meet can be created. Now, just to show you this quiz which I told you, see, I have created one quiz which is there. I've not posted it to the students, but this I created about 2-3 days back, but it is still there in my, I've given points because I need to add some more questions. That is the reason I have not really taken it. If I go to my edit button here, I can edit. So the moment I go to edit, whatever, if I need to add questions or delete questions, I can. So you can see here, actually it is for 20 marks. So as of now, you can see on top, it's only 16. So that is the reason I've not yet posted. I need 4 more questions. After that, I'll be posting it. And the moment I do this and put send, it will go to them immediately. So then the students they can see it and then they can do it. I can even make a copy of this to send it to someone else. Then you can add collaborators. In fact, this particular quiz, I've already added collaborators because another 2 of my colleagues teach the same subject. So what I have to, in case, if they want to add questions, they can add questions. So I've added 16, let us say. I have another colleague who's got some very good questions. I can tell him to add in this and it will be one document. So all 3 of us will be getting the same and we can give it to our respective classes. This is in terms of adding collaborators for your particular quiz. So all these options are there in terms of your, when you do the quiz option. But this is just one of the options because it makes our job easy in terms of when you want to evaluate it. But when you're giving an assignment, it is there. But when you give an assignment also, I'll show you that option, but you need, unless you, that needs more of practice for that. Let us take, I'm creating an assignment. Okay, review the given article. So then what you can do is you can either add that whatever material is there, either from link, same thing, your file, etc. You can add it. And after you add it, let me add it. Now, this they have to so this is what they'll be able to see. Now, here is where our job comes in. Now, once all my 40 students said, I need to actually how to evaluate it. I have to see each and then give them the marks. So the other option here is, I hope I'm doing this on test only. Yeah. In this, there is this option called rubrics. You can just click this originality reports, 3 assignments. Okay. On 3 assignments per class. Per class, you can have maximum of 3 assignments because there's a limitation. Don't worry about it. Now, let us say rubric. Now, either you can create a rubric, reuse a rubric, or import from something which you already have. Now, let us say creating a rubric. It will come like this. Now, what are the criteria you require? Now, let us say I want to do it on a particular criterion. Like what could the criterion be? Let us say the first criterion is, I'm just putting as evaluation. I'm going to, description is, I'm going to, on the content, I'm going to evaluate them. So once I do it, on what level, I'm giving, let us say, 5 points for excellent. This is the title of that. So all points. If you go to, for all of you, if you go to the any, what do you call, any website, you just open it and you just go for rubrics, sample rubrics or something you give, you will come to know how rubrics are actually made. They have different formats. So there's also a particular website called Rubistar. If my memory is right, I think it's Rubric Star or Rubik Star. Yeah, Ruby Star or something, where you can have a lot of sample rubrics. I'm just giving you very small, all points covered in the particular assignment, or you can give a minimum of 5 points are covered. Like that, you can give rubrics. So this is for 5 points. Then I add. I can add, let's say, 3 points. Very good. Most points covered. Then you can add one more. Let us say but make this more what do you call, I'm just giving you for understanding, but let it be more objective. Like for example, because this almost sum is not full. For example, let us say to make it more precise, 5 points covered, 3 points covered, 2 points covered, then 1 point. Ideally speaking, for this, we need to give 0, but generally, as a principle, we don't, because most of our assignments are slightly descriptive, but this is just an indicator, that's all. So once I give this as a rubric, I can just save it. So the advantage is once you give a particular rubric, it would be easy for you to evaluate. Now you can see your rubric, how it will look like. It will look like this. So you can keep on adding, like for example, content, then you can add one more, for example, grammar, you can add one more understanding of that particular topic, whatever it is, you can give different criteria. So you can give different, so the first one is content. Then I can keep adding criterion in that. So I keep adding about some 5 criterion. And what happens when you get your assignment, you can actually place it wherever it is. You can take that assignment and only when you do it, you'll come to know. And in that assignment, whichever is, if you feel that it is excellent, once you click on that, it will automatically assign that points. So this will help you to assign the points automatically. But now as such, don't really worry about rubrics. What I'm saying is this is at a later stage, you can actually focus on this. As of now, you can go for the simpler ones. And if you're giving an assignment, you can actually evaluate it. That will be better for class evaluation as of now. As I told you, because straight away getting into all the options is not advisable as of now. So here you can see, as I told you, it takes some time to generate. There is a saved announcement, what I'm seeing. What is the saved announcement? This is that article which you have posted on the 30th. So it is not visible now. In the saved as announcement, it will already be there. Students cannot view it. Students can view it only on 30th at 9 a.m. Till such time, they cannot view it. So I'm just deleting that, not required. So this is what in terms of the Google Classroom. These are the basic functions as to how you can post material, how you can conduct tests and assignments, and you can grade them. All that is possible on the Classroom, and it is very well integrated with the Google link. Like you can generate a meet link to have the meeting with your students, or you can send it well in advance. That is also up to you. All the meeting link options are there right from in Classroom, in Calendar, in your mail ID. All these 3, you can use your Google options. So this is one thing. It's a very well integrated platform by Google. So only thing is, people who do not have a Google account, we need to probably open a Google account, which will be easier for us. So I think now I have stopped sharing that. Ma'am, now is this the normal screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So that completes in terms of the basic functions. So if you have any questions now, I can probably take it for some time. Another about 10-15 minutes, we could probably, and then we can wind up the session. Any doubts,
Thank you
VC?
so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
So participants, if you have any queries, you can unmute your audio and post your questions.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Sir, I'm a mathematics teacher.
Mm-hmm.
As you say, when we type the questions in quiz blank or something you created, like there, will I be able to type or add symbols or equations for maths?
Ma'am, in that actually, in that answer key, suppose formulas as such, I don't think you can do it, ma'am. But you can give that answer for it. For example, if you're giving a question and if they need to write a formula for it, you can give it as a short answer.
Oh, okay, sir.
That is possible. And you can give that as a right answer. See, the option there is, like, let us say if you want to check whether they know the formula. So you can give the option as a short answer and the formula for so-and-so is, and you can give the answer. That can be done.
Okay. For answers, do we have images to be added, sir?
Which one, ma'am?
For options, we are giving
Yeah.
description.
You can add.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am.
Sir, good afternoon. This is Priyadarshini, Dr. Priyadarshini.
Yes, madam.
Sir, is there any option to conduct practical sessions, like the theoretical background of practical sessions through Google Classroom? Any laboratory basis there?
That is difficult, ma'am, because see, you can only display the video. Suppose you are conducting a class and you want to probably show them the experiments and all, you can share your screen and they can see whatever you see in terms of the content, what you're explaining in the lab. That they can definitely see on this particular platform.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyhow, this is, as I told you, ma'am, it's a pretty friendly kind of a platform. It's not very difficult because most of the functions are pretty easy. Now, companies, a lot of companies and some institutes are using the Zoom app also, but we are not advising Zoom app because there are a lot of security issues in that Zoom kind of a platform. That is why we are not advising the usage of Zoom. We prefer using Google Meet or a WebEx, which is by Cisco. This is another platform. So that is, again, that's a licensed platform, which is WebEx. That is also has a lot of options like this, where you can conduct tests, everything. But Google Meet and Google Classroom is pretty easy, and it's very user-friendly for both the teachers and the students as well. So that is one advantage. So in this, I forgot to tell you one small option in terms of, let me share the screen 1 second before we wind up. In this, there might be some kind of trouble creators in the class. One moment, let my screen go. Yeah, there might be some trouble creators in the class. So what do? So the moment you go to your people icon, you can find the list of participants who are there. Now, let us say a particular student is creating a problem. So then what we can do is, I'll probably show only then I'm more familiar. So there, if you go click on that particular name, and actually what you can do is, you have these options here. That minus mark, you can see that minus mark below, that minus mark is removed from the meeting. So if that particular, let's say that student is creating a problem in your class, he's not listening or whatever it is, you can just click on that name, whichever name it is. The moment you click, you will be getting these three options, and you can find the remove from meeting. The moment you remove from meeting, automatically that student will be out of that particular meeting. This is an option what the presenters have when you are presenting. And of course, the chat box is what we saw now. You want to click on the chat option, you can find all the whatever chats are there, that will be there. That is one advantage. And the people icon there. And as I told you, this particular I'm recording this, which I showed you. In this option we have start recording. This attendance symbol is also there. Then the meet attendance options will be there. You can actually automatically, wherever you want to, it will this thing will automatically get recorded for me because I've enabled it. But when you don't enable it, it will your attendance will not get recorded. So we have all these options on the particular thing. Yeah. This Apple symbol, but you'll have to download this. So if you go to Google and search for it, automatically, I'll show you that also before I wind up. Ma'am, I'll just show you a particular screen. Can you see this screen, all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this particular screen is what I told you. This is from the Chrome Web Store. If you go to Chrome Web Store, you'll be having all these. These are called extensions, actually. All these are called the add-ons, what I told you, they are extensions. This particular Meet attendance is offered by a private party. But anyway, these parties are all approved by Google. So you can see on the right in this particular thing, it is showing remove from Chrome. But when you actually do it for the first time, it'll show add to Chrome. So you can add these, like this attendance. You have so many other options where you can, like, this is for attendance. Then I'll show you one more grid view. So this is another. This is how it will look like. As I told you, instead of seeing only 16 people by default, the moment I install this particular grid view extension, I'll be able to see so many participants in one screen. But only thing is, the icons will be getting smaller and smaller because more number of people are shown on the same screen. So this is one more kind of extension which you can use. Like this, there are a lot of extensions in that. There is something called Nod, which I told you. Again, if you see, this will be offered by some third party. Again, like this. So the student will be able to raise his hand, which means there you will be getting an indication. So the moment, like the add to Chrome, when you add it, this extension will get added. So you can see all those extensions which is there. Now, I've added the Apple, but here it is disabled because only in Meet it will open. So these are all extensions which you can actually use. You can just explore this. There are so many extensions, but this Nod is only when even the students install it. Only when students install Nod, then what will happen in that particular name, you can find someone like raising their hand. This raise kind of an icon will be there. The students, so that they will be able to see it. So again, this is again offered by a third party. But all these are approved by Google platform. So anything you want to download these extensions, please go to Chrome Web Store. In the Web Store, you will find all these extensions. So with that, the session as such is complete. So any further questions, you can always address it, or probably we could close the session. So Dana ma'am, so could we, I'll send you the PPT as well as the recording. I'll send it to your email ID, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Participants' feedback link has been posted in the chat box. Kindly share your feedback. Now we request